Welcome to the Full-Time Life podcast. I'm Steph. Full-Time Life is all about acknowledging that the concept of work-life balance is flawed. There's no such thing as work separate and apart from life. It's all just life. And it's up to each of us to design our own full-time life balance. This podcast is dedicated to providing tools, resources, and conversations to encourage you to live your full-time life to the hilt. Welcome to the next episode of the Full-Time Life podcast. I am joined today from New York with my friend Payal. Payal and I have the same acupuncturist who happens to be one of your best friends. It's like an invisible string between us through Joel. And your blessed rest cards were out on the lobby table of the Flolo Holistic Center. And as soon as I saw them and I drew my card, I was like, I need this. And I've been using them with friends. I started using them as part of a warm up for the podcast. And now we finally get to meet. We're starting by drawing from Payal's Blessed Rest.
You want me to shuffle now?
Mhm.
Okay. Can get our juju on here.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Now let's see. I love when that happens. I don't know if that's ever happened to you, but when just one falls out, you're like, okay, universe. So I'm gonna stick with that one, and then
Okay.
she'll like it. Okay.
Yeah. And then I think I'll do the next one.
It's like we could just be in a little meditation here if we wanted to, right? It feels good.
Yeah.
Feels grounding. Okay, let's see. Oh, wow. Listen and lean into your heartbeat. Believe in your evolution, growth, and a higher power to guide you through. Wow. This is remarkable because I'm doing a lot of work with my higher power right now. And I forgot that I even wrote that. That terminology of higher power is something I'm really trying to lean into. This idea that it's higher power's will over mine. And I keep on thinking like, no, it's my will. I have all of this power and I have all of this ability, but really I am learning and realizing that like a higher power is who is leading me. But I literally forgot that I wrote higher power. So this is just really like it hits on so many levels because even like I'm feeling an evolution and a growth, and even just being introduced with you and doing all of this feels how the cards are moving on or moving along. And I'm wearing this funny heart shirt, which is like the heartbeat. This is really cool, and it just fell out. Do you feel connected to, or what do you think?
Yeah. This season of my life is, for me, a lot of self work. That's what I'm sitting. And so
Yeah.
it's the evolution, growth, and connection to a higher power, especially that gives me faith that it's not for nothing, that it is, I'm right where I belong.
I also think it's funny because I forget some of the things I've written. And sometimes I think, wow, girl, you really, something was downloading through you. You know what I mean?
Totally.
Wowie. Yeah.
I was thinking this morning too, the cool thing about these cards is the nature of the cards being something to touch and hold and sit with and reflect. It's almost like a lost art of connecting. And so much of, because it's so quick, like Instagram, TikTok, and then it's gone.
I love what you're saying.
And these, you can sit with them. We can sit with them for a whole conversation, or it can be your whole day. And you can, I like the practice of setting it out and then coming back to it.
Yeah. Today I picked nap, I guess it came. And then because I teach these blessed rest classes twice a week on Zoom. So I then will send the card to the students as just a guide. And whether they come to class or not, they just have a prompt for self-care.
Yeah, for their day.
Yeah.
Okay, should we take this one too?
Yeah, let's do it.
Ooh.
Oh, wow, for you.
This is the second time I've drawn this.
Wow.
Stand still in pure gratitude for this new chapter. Honor old chapters too. Like gets me in my throat. You're gratefully learning your lessons. It like gets me. I do have so much gratitude, and even like being in New York, this season is coming to a close, and I may be honoring old chapters, but there's gratitude in that too. And this kind of future is unknown. The idea that you could go into it with gratitude, it's like the easiest place to start. I don't have to know any of the answers. I can just be grateful for this time and space with you and this magnetic meetup. And the gratefully learning my lessons is validation. I think just like reflecting on my role in things. I think that's where I've been doing the past couple months some inner child work and some shadow work, and it just all comes back to you. And so I think this idea, this validation that I'm moving through with some learning really gives me hope for the future.
It's a really beautiful card. I don't know if you notice, it's subtle, but every card has one word that's black, like a slightly different color.
Oh.
And so for this one, it's evolution. For yours, it's honor. And I feel like a lot of what you're saying really holds true to you, honoring the past, honoring now, honoring like what doors are opening and what journey is ahead. And there's something how you said a little bit about the higher power feels like faith driven or remembering faith or feeling into faith. And I feel like the sense of honoring too, it's just a kind of a sweeter connection with a life, right? So if I can honor myself, if I can honor the ups and downs, if I can honor like the shadow, if I can honor the trauma, if I can honor the grief, it just softens me.
Yeah. The actions I'm taking now is reaching out to connections and just reconnecting in this space of what I'm trying to do with my one wild and precious life.
Yeah.
And it's very clear to me in these conversations what no longer aligns. And that word honor is really important because it was right on time once upon a time, and now it's not really who I am now. And so it gives me a moment to be like, okay, that was a door that I opened that doesn't appear to go somewhere, but I can still honor it. And also is proof that I'm learning my lessons because I'm not that person anymore.
That's what it sounded like when you were just saying it.
Yeah.
Like the gratefully learning your lessons feels just really here.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're like really big messages and it can be a lot for people. But if you just think about the word evolution, it could maybe percolate something, or honor, you know, it can just be fun words to dive.
Do you recommend when someone has this that they journal, air it out, talk it out? What's the best way to sit with it, do you think, or that you found for your practice?
Yeah, I love that. So funny enough, I do have this. Now these cards are like, they're just a couple cards, but one of them here is this sort of a map you could use. This whole thing is obviously an invitation. This is like an idea of resting in some way. Blessed rest is that we are all doers, and we forget, I think, in this society that resting, just even together like this, and listening and hearing and witnessing is our blessing. Like we're here for that blessing. And so this is like a reminder of taking that pause. So a reminder to rest kind of thing. But so I wrote here that you can shuffle, make a wish, breathe, and receive. And then I break it down to 4 things. 1, breathe with a mantra and shape. So they're the cards that are just breathwork cards. So one could start by picking just, let's say, one of those cards and centering, right? And then second, to pick a self-care affirmation, which are these other ones.
Okay.
Then the third one is that there are other action cards, which will say doodle, journal, nap, nourish, or stretch. And you could pick one of those. So let's say if I get this card and then let's say I draw the journal card, I may want to journal that. If I get this card, but then I get like the stretch card, maybe I need to just move my body a little bit. And so I think there's like a way of breathing, centering, receiving affirmation, and then taking an action that may deepen that expression of that affirmation. And then, of course, I said here, like you can skip all of it and just explore this on your own. I think it's called an intuitive self-care deck. So there is a potential organization here if you want to take it, but you can also just be super whimsical.
Yeah, I like that. So what I'm internalizing is if I want to make it a ritual, then I have these stacks and I start with the grounding and then the self-care affirmation and then what to do with it. And that would be like a ritual. And when I've done it with friends, we're very whimsical. And it's interesting because when you get the doodle journal, the nourish card, that is your card. Like that being your card is the thing.
I know, and that's really amazing. So today I got nap, and I'm thinking, girl, because you were running. And
Yeah.
I love that, and I love that's something I could spread, to community for the week. But I agree, when you just are whimsical and it says like nourish, oh yes, let me eat some salmon or whatever. So yeah, I'm with it.
And then it can be like a ritual that is flowy. That it's not the same thing every day, and you don't have to journal every day, and doodling can be super fun. And yeah,
I loved how you were talking about the inner child work you mentioned. So I have also a set of healers and friends and community, and I'm really into astrology.
Yeah.
So my astrologer had mentioned she had done a reading for me, and had said this was again during the pandemic, because all this is generated out of the pandemic and the anxiety I was feeling and the grief I was feeling, that this sort of all came through. But she was telling me, this is a fun story. So she was telling me, why don't you get some crayons and doodle? And I'm like, okay. And then I thought, okay, I'm going to get some crayons. So I went onto Amazon and I found really fun crayons that are like eggs, that are like very playful, almost like an Easter egg shape, really cool. So I tried to doodle, and then I got really into it, and it felt like it was a way to, I guess, release some of the harder feelings. Anyways, then I like graduated from crayons to maybe like markers or something. Anyway, so these are all the doodles that came out of her suggestion to connect with inner child for healing. And so I had this I had these random doodles that, by the way, were not these colors. They were just on a white notebook, different colors. And then I put them in this thing called Canva, which I don't know, I just learned about it. And then I changed the colors so that they were more nocturnal, like this idea of resting to calm and soothe. But then I thought these pinks were really fun.
Yes.
Because they're more active, whether you're journaling or whether you're breathing. And so these are literally all these doodles I was doing based on a suggestion by a healer as a way to connect with my inner child.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're very beautiful cards. I think that's the number one thing I see too, is like, these are beautiful.
Oh, thank you. By the way, I've never doodled. So it's, again, this is what I want to like impart, that I've never even, this is all stuff that's within us, right? Like I'm not an artist per se. And it's really great. So if you pick the doodle card, you can just pick up anything, any utensil, anything, and then just start to go for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and
sure.
what you're all about?
Yeah, thank you so much, Stephanie. It's amazing to be here. I have such deep appreciation for you. Getting a Instagram DM from you was very exciting for me. And a big thank you to Joel, of course, right? And Floating Lotus. If you haven't been, please check out in New York. It's a wonderful holistic spa. I've been a yoga teacher and a meditation teacher for probably over a decade now. And so a lot of this comes out of those practices. And I was also a teacher at Floating Lotus for a while. I also do other healing modalities like Reiki Master and read Akashic records and crystals and things like that. So that's all a personal passion. This sort of road to healing is one that I take pretty seriously. This is the path I'm on. And prior to being a healer, I had been in the art world for my entire life, adult life, and went to school for it and all of that good stuff. And so I have a piece of me that's like an art dealer, and then a part of me that's a healer. And so I'm like a healer dealer, something funny. But these cards in particular were sourced or came through during the pandemic, where everything was so shifty and scary, and we were obviously not meeting in person anymore, offering these Zoom classes for people to continue to practice yoga, right? Now, I specialize in the restorative style. This idea of resting is really important to me, and also really helped me with my nervous system. I tend to run anxious. So restorative yoga, yin yoga are practices that have been immediately healing for me. And so I feel like I always start from a place where if I have been shifted, then maybe I can help others shift. And so it's something that I felt I really embodied during the pandemic, because we weren't meeting in person. I was offering yoga classes. When I was sending out the emails to the clients, to the community, I would just write something, like something I was hoping would be like a bit of sunlight or encouragement, really. And what I found was that maybe folks, they might not have come to the actual physical yoga classes, but they would say, like, I really love what you wrote. Oh, really? Okay, thanks. And then again, I would send another email out, write something else encouraging. And then I get another, oh, but I just love what you're saying to me. Oh, oh, really? Okay, thanks. And so what I ended up realizing is over the course of a year, 2 years of that, that maybe I could compile all of these little things I was writing and offer it up in some way. And so I did think about things like yoga teachers. They make journals. Like maybe I should make a journal, but honestly, I don't really have a strong journaling practice.
Mhm.
And one thing led to the next thing. And this is such a great story. My godmother, who's no longer with us, is a really special Black poet, and her name is Lucille Clifton. And her work is just unbelievably inspiring. And I was speaking to, I noticed that her poems, she has multiple books out, multiple publications, but there was also like a card deck that came out of her poetry. And I thought, oh my goodness, wow. First of all, I need to get that. Second of all, this is such a beautiful idea. And when I spoke to her daughter, that still I'm quite close to, when I started to tell her about what I would like to do with this writing, she suggested maybe you could make a card deck like God Mommy. And also, sadly, my mother is no longer with us, but I grew up with decks. Like I grew up with the tarot. I grew up, and I'm quite interested in these type of divination tools.
Mhm.
So it's more from journaling, which I don't really do too much of anyway, into, okay, maybe this could be a deck. So then I culled down 500 or so of these little sayings I had written over the course of 2 years. And then I just curated it down to 40. So there's 40, what I'll call is an aphorism or an affirmational intent. And then there's 10 other cards. It's a deck of 50 cards. 10 of the cards are broken up into five, five, and five are active things that may guide you to do something like stretch or to doodle or to journal. And then the five other cards are offerings of breathing and using mantra, kind of a way into meditating, really, with a word and with breath. And there you have it. That's blessed rest. Yeah.
From start to finish to like you have these
Products,
and
right.
they're at the studio,
Right.
they're at Joel's place. What was that length of time?
Yeah, sure. So they came out, like I actually had them for to share with the world in October of 2022.
Okay.
Um, and so it probably took me, I mean, what pandemic was 2020,
Yeah.
right? So I would say I was creating it not knowingly from 2020 because I was doing Zoom and sending out these words to my beautiful community. And then also working on doodling on the side for healing my own inner child. And then the idea probably came through towards the end of 2021 or maybe early 2022. And then once it came together within just a matter of months, maybe
Mhm.
4 or 5 months, culled it down. And then it took some time. I designed everything. At one point, I did get an actual person to help me put it in something called InDesign because I'm not a graphic designer, but it was quite quick, maybe a matter of months. But then go to the printer, it'd come back. This box was different. Then it was like, how big should they be? The colors, of course, right? You have to like color check. How do I distinguish like a breath card? So I think that stuff was really interesting.
It's the finishing touches, but as someone who's in the art world, they're really important finishing touches. So I
Oh my
imagine that's
gosh.
like that's the fun part because it's all
Yes.
created
Yeah.
and now what's the user experience and
Right. It's true.
how does it represent what you're all about?
It's true. It's true. And so there were moments where I'm like, nope, that's not quite centered. I got really nitpicky about
Yeah.
it. And then because it's something that I just produced into the world by myself and I'm like a one man band, I also have to be cost effective, right? So like
Yeah.
I only can make 100 of these at a time, but maybe down the line I can make 1,000 of them. And so I've done them in these smaller runs. I'm so happy, so grateful for people who've supported the deck, but I've done a couple runs of them of the hundreds because they fly out the door sometimes. So it's neat. It's super neat. I never even thought about having a product, or it's really interesting. It's such an extension of the work that I hope to share. One thing that I really do love too is I was able to place these in a museum shop. And so I'm very excited, of course, for everyone to, if they're useful, to have them, but particularly because I have spent so much time in the art industry and there's so much burnout there, to see people in the art space also use this deck. They're here in the world, and where do they want to go? I don't know. But for example, the fact they got into your hands and into your heart, you can't imagine what that is like for me to feel and to witness. It's mysterious, it's humbling, it feels bigger than me. And I just really always hope to be a conduit for healing for others, really.
When you were on this process, were there little signs along the way?
Sure. Little weird things. One time I had gone on vacation to, I don't know, was I in Bermuda? I was somewhere, maybe Turks and Caicos. And I would, I could see this graphic in the sand or something.
And
I'd
it
be,
was your
and I'd be like,
graphic.
wait a minute. Wait, I made that graphic on Canva randomly. Literally, this thing doesn't exist, but I don't even know how to even bring you back to what is this? I have no idea. But I would see it in the world. I'd see the symbol in the world and go, okay, that's I am whole card.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a really exciting part of a process when you get a little signs
I love the
that you're not
science
even
too.
looking for, that are just like,
Keep going. Oh, yeah, we both said that. Keep
Yeah.
going.
Do you have any
Hmm.
special numbers
I do.
that show up
I
for
do.
you specific?
The big special number, and if you know me well, everyone will know this is 1111.
Really?
Yeah. So anytime it becomes 11 o'clock and 11 minutes on my phone, there's like a pause, and then my family and I, we all send each other messages going 1111, make a wish. So 1111 is pretty much the one for me.
What are you in human design?
I am a projector.
I'm a manifesting generator.
Okay, that makes a lot of
Okay.
sense. Manifesting, and
Yeah.
I got the invitation from you. So yeah, the projector is has to be invited, and I'm
Mm.
very like self-driven. And so sometimes I'll be like, no, but I really want that thing to happen. And so I'll call that person, or I'll see if I can go to that event. But then, oh my God, you have to be invited. It's so hard for someone who's such a New Yorker and who has to
Mm-hmm.
get it like an entrepreneur. You got to just get it done. But I also am learning that things will also come. Okay, the deck is here. So I could use that energy to make something. But where it goes, that energy of an invitation, I have to sit back and wait. It's hard.
How did the getting them in the museum gift store?
Yeah. How did that happen?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was super neat. So I am originally from Baltimore. My family is there. My sister had a gathering at her home, and my sister is such a champion of me, and I am of her. She's the coolest girl I know. And she just loves these cards. And so I
Yeah.
had, unbeknownst to myself, I had taken the train down to visit. I met her gathering, and she pulls these cards out. I was like, hey, everyone, you should pick a card. My sister made this deck, and I'm going like, oh God, so embarrassing, but okay. And there it happened, and everyone started to pick the card. And the thing that I have found really neat, even today, is that we seem to pick the card we need or something. And whomever's picking the card somehow, like, it matches what they needed to know, or gives them some answer, or not answer, but affirmation. Anyway, so there it was. And then there was someone from the museum, and she was just really excited by it and said, we have to have these at the store. And I like nearly fell down, because it's just a dream. It's like a dream to connect all of these parts of myself. As much as I'd love for this to be at, like, I don't know, all the spas and things, for this to be at the MoMA store, or for this to be for some reason, is also really meaningful to me. So to have it at the Baltimore Museum of Art, and also I have a background there. I did teach meditation there. So that was a little bit of the behind story. And my sister's also very involved in that museum, hence she was having a gathering. Yeah.
It's when you are creating something from your heart, you feel aligned. And I think putting it out into the world, you want it to land, not for any other reason than it can be so powerful and it can impact lives. So I get that. And it was an invitation.
It was an
So going back
invitation.
to
It
what
was,
you need
yeah.
is to be able to put something out there and then it to
Mhm.
land.
Mhm. And honestly, I've been pretty backed off about it. And there's moments where I feel like I should maybe be doing more, but then there's also moments where I'm like, no, just in the life that I have led, it's always about connecting with people and how that grows and leads me to the next thing, whether it be like teaching a class, doing a show at a gallery, all the things is really about, even like today is such an example of how my life really does unfold. Joel, floating lotus, acupuncture, yoga, have such a home with him there. And then the deck is there because he's a friend. And then you see the deck and now we're friends. For me, it's like that.
Yeah.
It's a string of like humans that light this kind of magic and I follow.
My sense is in the creative space is that your job, my job, is to create what's on my heart. My job is to create, and your job is to create. And how it actually gets out into the world, almost none of your business, right?
Agreed.
And I think for me, it can be really challenging not to attach myself to the end outcome, just to be. And that it's so cool. That's where really your cards ended up, and now they're at the beach with me. And you shared with me yesterday some ways that I can bring them to my yoga class, which I have never thought to do. I like them in a small circle because as much as conversation can be free flowing and organic, sometimes you need some conversation starters. And this kind of serves its self-care, and it's also just like an easy way to bring people together without any kind of agenda. And it's all going to land, even if you pull the I am whole, I am, inhale, exhale. What a beautiful way to start gathering with a group of friends. That's really cool. Staying in the space of not being attached to the outcome, what is coming up for you creatively now?
That's a great question. You mean with the cards or just in
with
general?
With what you create and put out into the world.
I think it's on different levels. I'm here for wherever the cards need to go. I'm creating these workshops around the cards, and I've offered them a little bit, called Blessed Rest, where we do everything from choosing cards and working the active steps, action cards. So we'll journal about maybe our feelings. If we like pick a card, we might write a bit about it. And then the stretching piece that's here will be a yoga practice. So it's like a whole Blessed Rest experience where we use the deck to guide us into self-care. And that includes a yoga practice, that includes journaling, that includes gratitude, that includes connecting with each other, sharing. So I've built a kind of programming around the cards and how to offer them as ways for people to heal and care for themselves. So that's one thing. And just, continuing to be really open to collaboration. I met a woman recently who has a store uptown called My Little Magic Shop.
Oh.
It's super great on the Upper West Side. It's so wonderful, and she's selling the decks there, and I've done an event with her there. So to see them also like it's one thing that I have a site and you can buy them off the site, and if you know me, then you know about them. But it's been really neat to put them out where I don't know who may see them. So collaboration, I'm very open to. I've shared this with students, like young people and at schools, because I think it's really important from a very young age to know there's something called self-care and your mental wellness and your wholeness, and working this all the way to people who are older and still need that reminder, right? It's just ageless, but it's definitely mysterious. Don't really know
Where it goes
everything.
Maybe it goes back to the card you drew, right? Which is you don't have to know, you just listen and lean into your heartbeat.
Yeah.
I'm curious because as someone who's put things in print just for my own benefit, once you do it once, you have a template and you've done the hard work of figuring out how to do it. And so are there more of these affirmations on your heart that have been created since you made the original deck?
What's really interesting is I have not written one affirmation or made one doodle. Like, it's not, I feel like these are still so present with me. It's funny because someone's, oh, what's your next deck? I'm like, oh no, it's still Blessed Dressed by Payal.
No, I get that.
I'm not, it's truly not something that I'm like churning out. This is just something that really came from such a place I didn't even know I had. And now I'm just really with this deck. And I have thought about some ideas around like apparel and some cool things. That's what I would love to see. I'm not thinking of a whole nother deck or concept. I'm thinking of like, how could I maybe use some of these motifs for like pajamas or a tote bag, or ways to which, again, this concept is about resting, and that resting is a blessing, and it is our birthright as in humanity to take care and to rest. And so trying to build a movement really around that concept could be, again, could turn into maybe some apparel, again, like socks, things that just are cozy.
Yeah.
A pillow, I don't know. So honestly, I haven't moved on. But I think that if I were to at some point think of another deck, it may be something actually around grief. Yeah. But I'm just not there yet.
Yeah. I get that. I think there's been some stuff for me where I'm like, that was an idea from 5 years ago, me. And it doesn't, like, it almost doesn't resonate with me anymore. And so I have this need to create something new. But it's almost like you've said, your work here isn't done, which with spreading the blessed rest cards. It'll be interesting to see where they end up, because they belong in a lot of spaces, right? They would fit in well in yoga studio, and they're great gifts to give. And I was recently reading something about bringing a hostess gifts, and how the default is people always want to bring a bottle of wine, but now in today's culture, not everyone drinks. And also, wine isn't necessarily something for self-care, and gravitating towards more creative gifts, so fancy, expensive chocolate bars and really nice candles. But this kind of would fit too. I can see it just fitting in so many spaces. And as we evolve our thinking about how we show up with hostess gifts, it just like fits in really nicely, where you're contributing something that elevates the vibe of the entire space. So I'm obviously a fan.
Oh my gosh, I'm so grateful. I love all these ideas, and I really do hope they are brought along.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it helps to picture all the possibilities, and then
That's
wherever
nice.
they
That's a
land.
great idea. I should admit, that's a really beautiful idea that you've said in there for me to just be open to the possibilities. I feel like I wake up and feel that way, and I'm like, okay, higher power, guide me. Truly, this card couldn't have been more to where these cards can land, and how I can help create those invisible strings that you were talking about.
Yeah.
I'm just so open to it. I'm so grateful to you for
I see you and I love it. I think the fact that they are everything about the energy behind them, your background, your tie into cards, and your background is in yoga and Reiki, and being in New York, which I think is like the energetic center. For me, it's a very energized place to be. The fact that this comes from a place that's so bum is cool too. What else do you want to share about yourself, about your cards?
Sure. I'd love to share that I offer classes.
Yes. How do we
on
find them?
Zoom twice a week, Tuesdays and Sunday. Tuesday 5 to 6, and Sunday 10 to 11. On my site, my name, which is just Payal, so PAYAL.NYC. I really look forward to growing that class. There's a point where people, when they were only confined to Zoom, would come, but now obviously you can go to yoga studios, and even the matrix of yoga studios have changed so much post-pandemic in the city. So many have shut down.
For sure.
And so some people are also just really enjoying practicing just in their own environment, not having to commute around. So that is there. I'd love to share that very much. These cards are also available on the same site under shop, and then there's other aspects of the healing, like Akashic records, and there's just maybe just taking a peek at the website.
What are Akashic records?
Akashic records.
Akashic.
Oh, this is the coolest. So Akashic, it means like ether. It's like space. The Akasha is like the air, the atmosphere, like up there, the clouds type of feeling. The Akashic records are your soul's records. And so your life, if you believe in multiple lives, then you have this one life now. You've had lives before. It's not so much about the lives ahead, but the records contain your soul's journey. And so we consult the records sometimes when we're seeking some guidance. And so there's a process, there's a prayer. I say a prayer, I open it up, and then we have a conversation like we're having now. And you can ask me anything, right? And then I can tell you, because your guides, your loved ones, your ancestors are like basically communicating through me to you. It's just the most fascinating thing. And then you close the records, and then that's the thing. And I offer half an hour sessions and hour sessions. It's been really neat to work with clients or to work with people who were really just not sure what to do, or they were at a certain moment and it was rough, and then opening up their soul's records and really feeling connected and guided to move themselves, make a decision. These are just all tools.
What is the last self-care thing that you participated in?
Daily Reiki for sure, like every day, hand placements. Definitely the yogic practices, these cards, picking a card, looking at it every day, I would say. And resting is important to me, like sleeping well, eating well, and really offering a lot of self-compassion, because again, this city it's great. I mean, it's my home, but if I'm not careful, I can be really tough on myself. And it's like there's a consistency of having to remember to be gentler and kinder. So then just a sense of like mindfulness, right? And practicing that awareness every day.
That's so good. Thanks for inviting me into your home, not just into your home on your yoga mat.
Yeah.
Is this what we can expect from your weekly
Yes,
classes?
pretty much. Yeah.
And I'll share all of the links in the show notes. And this was so lovely. I'm so glad we
I know.
two days in a row in
It's
person.
amazing. It's so good. Thank you so much.
And I think maybe closing out on coming back to the cards we pulled, maybe now that we've had all this conversation. So do you want to read yours again?
Yeah, I would love to. Okay, let's see here. Listen and lean into your heartbeat. Believe in your evolution, growth, and a higher power to guide you through. Really makes me smile.
Yeah. And mine is stand still in pure gratitude for this new chapter. Honor old chapters too. You are gratefully learning your lessons. Feels very poignant. Keeps coming back to me as a little reminder. Fabulous. Thank you, Payal.
Thank you, dear.